Welcome and thanks for joining me today. Grab a cup of coffee, maybe your lunch, maybe even dinner, and I will show you how I made this field of poppies. All right, so here we've got a couple of canvases. Now I've got this on I think 4 times the speed because it's really quite a long video that I put together. Learned a lot in this process. One is don't make such a long video so that I don't have to speed it up so fast. So here I started with the 11 by 14 canvas was something that I was working on before and I didn't like it, so I put some gesso over it, let that dry. And at the top here I've got bright aqua green by Liquitex and also teal by Golden, and so I just mixed those two colors and added a little bit of water. And now at the bottom I've got burnt umber light, raw umber, and burnt sienna, which are all Golden products, and I'm just mixing all those together and using my fingers to spread them around. Here I've got a lineup of the 3 different colors I'm using, which is at the bottom of your screen. So using my fingers here just to create the base of this field of poppies, and I'm hitting the sides with it and the bottom as well. Now I'm picking out some red colors that I want for the center part of it. And I realized I really didn't want these golden fluid. I wanted the full body, a little bit thicker. So I've got candium red and cadmium red, and I'm not going to pronounce this right, Nephthol red medium. It's Nephtthol red medium. So I just kind of combine those 2 colors again, spread them around with my fingers. So I'm letting those dry, and I went back to the top, and what I'm using up there is manganese blue hue and some titanium white, and mixing those 2 colors together, adding a little bit of water with my water bottle and just spreading that around. Now I put enough water on there, I'm kind of letting it drip and move around, and I like the movement that it makes while the water is on there, and I'm just cleaning up the extra water that I don't want dripping down into the other areas. Alright, so now we're a bit drier here, and moving forward with working on the bottom, which is the field of green. And what I've taken here is just a really small paintbrush, and I've got 3 different colors of green. I've got, let's see, I've got green gold, I've got light green, chromium oxidized dark green. These are all Golden products that you can see there on the left side of your screen. And this process is kind of tedious, but I'm just I watered down each one of these, and I'm just making lines. So just going through and really not paying much attention to where I'm putting them other than just getting them on there. Now moving on to my next color, which I think is more the green gold. Alright, so I decided that I didn't like that paintbrush after all, so I grabbed one of my palette knives and I'm using that to make the lines. Did I mention this is a long process? So I'm just continuing on. This is the next green color, the darker green, and again just adding more lines every which way, switching back and forth on my colors now. I just wanted to make it look like a field of greens, tall grasses, I guess. And that just took a while trying to make all of those lines and I guess each blade of grass. So now I'm watering down the green, and I'm putting lots of water on my brush, and I am just adding what's the word I'm looking for? Drips, I guess, everywhere, so that I can add more to the background. Now I'm doing the same thing with the darker green, which is going to need some more water and some more green. And this is just building up some color into the background, so it's not just all those lines. Got the sides as well. And here with the hairdryer, I was trying to move some of that around and to see if I can kind of get it to move and fill in more. Just kind of trying this out, and I kind of decided that really wasn't going the direction I was hoping it would by getting it to move around with the hairdryer. So dabbed some of that off. Some of it was all right. It'll work. I went back to adding some more lines over those. I'd say building up the grass area probably was the most somewhat time-consuming and tedious process. Here I'm adding a little bit of water, watering it down some. I'm going to move it around, see if that's going to work. I'm trying to get that feeling of lots of grass and not having everything so sharp, you know, kind of having some of that blend into the background. So now I've decided, well, I'm going to take my brush and just kind of blend upward from the base, moving up to kind of make it seem like a more full field of grass. So a lot of this for me is trial and error, just seeing what works, what doesn't work, trying to, you know, get what I've got envisioned in my head onto the canvas. I'm carefully brushing out towards the top, kind of a very light stroke. That's pretty much it for kind of the grass background. I was happy with the way it ended up looking, blended and looked like a field of grass. All right, so we're back and it is dry now. I'm gonna go back to working on the sky, and I've got that, let's see, I've got a darker blue. That was ultramarine blue, actually, I put on there with the titanium white. And although I kind of liked my sky before, when I did all this, I'm adding some teal now because I was like, oh, it's a little too blue for me now. I guess that's what happens when I keep adding layers. Sometimes I don't really like the new layer I put on. But in the end, I did like it because I kept working it until I was happy with it. So with the paper towel, just picking up a little bit of that color. So I like the way that darker blue, that the ultramarine blue, is kind of showing through a little bit in a couple of spots. And this just gives the sky, I think, a little bit more interest instead of just having one color back there. I wanted a little bit lighter color so that the eye kind of has a place to go to rest. All right, so after that dried, back again, and this time I'm going to work the middle background, and I wanted to add some flowers, kind of making poppies look like they're out in the distance. And I started with a red, and it was just too dark of a red, so I added white until I kind of got the color that I wanted, which is not quite a peachy color, but a lighter color of red, so that they look like they're in the distant background. I'm just adding that in, kind of rubbing it with my fingers to spread it out a bit so that they don't have any real hard edges to them. Now I took some of the darker red and some water, and I'm just adding drops all the way around just to add some kind of texture to the background. I'm going to wipe away what ended up in the sky. All right, so we're back again. And the background poppies are now dry and ready to move on to the next step. Now, I didn't do a good job of showing you close-ups. Well, this one's not too bad. You can see the red dots all over the stems, which is what I wanted, and some up in the poppy area. All right, so I was looking for a palette knife that I could use, and kind of hesitating here. All right, sometimes it's hard to just get started. I am using white titanium paint, and I'm making the poppies. So I'm doing the backgrounds for each of the poppies in white, so that the red color, I'm going to be using two different colors of red on the poppy. That'll help make those poppies really pop. And a little bit of the white shows through at the end, but again, very little because I covered up a lot of it. So just going through this process of adding these, and I slowed down the video on this part a little bit so that you can see what I'm doing here. So if you want to fast forward, feel free to do that. I'm just repeating this process of making the poppies and kind of adding some texture as I go as well. So not letting it smooth out completely, but leaving some peaks and valleys, and making little messes along the way. And cleaning those up. That's the good thing, right? Grab a little baby wipe and just clean it up. As I go through this process of adding all of the poppies, I'm trying not to line them up. I'm trying to make them look like they are in a field, and that there's no particular pattern happening. And since I'm kind of a beginner at doing this stuff, I didn't have my poppies touch each other so that it looks like one is behind the other or in front of the other. That'll be for another time. One step at a time in my learning process. when I've added these, keep in mind that my edges are not smooth and perfectly round. They're rough around the edges to give it a more realistic look. So I was purposely trying not to make perfectly round edges. Here I'm trying to figure out where else I might want to add a poppy. Fill it in a little bit more. One more. As I set it down and I kind of looked at it, sometimes it helps to walk away and then come back and look at it to see where you feel like there's a gap or there's a spot where you can add one more. Now looking at it, I can see a couple of spots down lower in the grass where I could have added a couple of more, but that's all right. All right, so that dried thoroughly. There you can see some texture as I bring it up closer. So I'm going to leave that alone for a bit and then come back. All right, so we're back. And everything is dry and now ready to add the two colors. I'm using the full body, and the two I'm using is the Candium Red and the Nephthol Medium, Red Medium, which I cannot pronounce that. Someone's going to have to help me out with that one. Nephthol. And I'm going with the lighter color, which I believe is the Cadmium Red, is the lighter of the two. And with my palette knife, again, I'm just filling in. I'm not doing it perfectly well because I know I'm going to add the other lighter color of red on top. So just filling in most of it, leaving some white around the edges. And I slowed down this part of the process as well. And on this one, I think my camera actually, oh, I know what happened. The FedEx truck was ringing the guy at the in the FedEx truck was ringing my doorbell, so I ran downstairs to see what he had. Package for my husband. All right, so I came back and continued working on this. And the reason I'm doing a palette knife instead of a paintbrush is just building up some more texture. A paintbrush would just smooth right over the white, the titanium white that I have on there, but I wanted to continue to build up a little bit more of the texture for these flowers. All right, so just about done here with the first layer. So now I'm taking my second color, which is the lighter of the two reds, which is probably a little hard to see on here. But now I'm going back through, and I didn't even let that first layer dry, which is okay. I'm kind of putting this right on top, maybe blending just a tiny bit to add some variation in color so that some of the dark is showing and mostly the lighter color is showing. There's kind of a close-up. Sorry, my lighting is, I've got two lights above me, and when I move out of the light, it doesn't shed a whole lot of light anymore, so it kind of gets dark where my camera is sitting. But from here you can see the difference between the first reds that I did and now the second layer of red that I'm putting on top. Here you can see the background, the lighter pinkish poppies really stand out now against the darker ones. Lots of texture in there. So I'm going to let this dry and then I'll come back. All right, so back again, fully dry, and I'm going to be working. This is Liquitex, and it is, let's see, which color is that one? I have a whole list in front of me. Oh, believe it or not, I didn't write down that one. It's one of their green colors, which I really like. You know, when I decided to invest in some really good colors, I thought that I would go with all of the golden products. But then I bought some Liquitex that was on sale over at Michael's. I actually got, I think, buy one, get two free, which was an awesome deal. And so I bought 3 of them. I bought the pink color, which is magenta, kind of the aqua green, and this, and a teal, green and a teal. And I really like them. They're very creamy and the colors are outstanding. So I may be investing more in the Liquitex going forward as I need more colors. All right, so what I'm doing here is I'm just taking, again, watering down my colors. I'm going with orange. Here I'm starting my little 4x6 background of colors on that little piece of paper. But I'm just putting on colors so that it looks more like there's a field of smaller flowers in the green area. So as I do each one, then I go back and I wipe down my poppies that I did. This is the yellow, which is Hansa yellow by Golden. So again, on my brush and just getting that everywhere into the field of poppies, just trying to avoid the sky. And then I'm going to, again, just take a wipe down the sky and then wipe down each one of my poppies so that those sprinkles are not on there. Adding some yellow to that little card. And some of you may have seen that card. I had posted it on my Facebook page when it was done. It turned out really cool. All right, so I'm thinking here, what's next? What's next? All right, how about some yellow? And this is the Liquitex yellow. Let's see if I don't think I have that one written down on my list. All right, so what I'm going to be doing, again, just adding some more color. I did this several times with many different colors just to build it up a bit. Getting the sides there as well. And again, going through and wiping everything down. All right, so I think I've got, I can't see that from the viewer that I'm looking at right now. I'm trying to remember which color that was. Oh, that's black. So I'm going to be now adding black to the center of each of the poppies because I'm pretty much done with my background, so it's safe to move forward. And I'm taking a skewer and I'm just pulling out the color from the center out towards the petals, and that kind of gives that center of each of the poppies a more, I want to say, more realistic look, I guess. So a little time-consuming process here, going through and doing each one of these, but I think in the end it looks good. And I'm using the black that is, what's the word I'm looking for? Not the full-bodied, so it's a little bit, it's got more water in it. It moves around a lot easier. So it's easier to use the skewer and spread the black into the red of the flower. I'm really not being super neat about adding the black paint in the center. It's not perfectly round. It's kind of rough looking, and I guess making that look seem more realistic. But now that I think about it, if you look at the perfect flower, it's perfectly round in the center. But I liked it not being perfectly round on these. All right, so I'm going to let that dry. Here's a close-up, and you can kind of see the field. Sorry about my close-ups. My camera, I thought it was not zoomed in as much, so I thought you were seeing more of the poppies. So I've got some white, and there's that Liquitex aqua green. It's called actually bright aqua green, really great color. And I added some blue, which must be the manganese blue. And what I'm doing is I'm going to now work on the sky. And just didn't like the way that skyline looked between the flowers and then going up into the sky. So I am adding some color through there, and I'm going to kind of work this a bit until I get the colors that I want and the blending that I want as well. So this takes a little bit of patience to go through and work this area. So doing this process is new to me, and it did take me a little while to again, get onto the canvas kind of what I envisioned in my head. So I just kept playing with these 3 different colors and blending them until I got to where I wanted to be. I like blending with a paper towel. It kind of adds a little bit of roughness to the surface, and a little bit of texture. So it's funny, I was working on it upside down and I thought it looked okay, but then when I turned it around and looked at it, I thought, no, it's still not quite where I want it to be. So I worked it a bit more. I'm kind of thinning it out around the flowers to make the flowers really kind of stand out against the sky. So I decided that little background flower there really was kind of standing out and looking like a sore thumb. So I covered that up. Decided to add a little bit more white into that area as well. All right, so now the black has dried enough that I can go in with my yellow, which is the Hansa yellow, and I'm just adding a little bit on the tip of my palette knife and just adding that to the center of each one of the flowers. As I was going through and looking at pictures on the internet of fields of poppies, I noticed some of them don't have the yellow. Some of them did, which I kind of like. The yellow helps make it pop a little bit more. Adding some more to that little card I've got, the leftover paints. So here I've got, and it's not a high grade, it's called burnt sienna, and I don't have it in the golden or the Liquitex products, but I just love the burnt sienna for shadowing. And let's see, what am I showing you here? This is a green color. Oh, the dark green. So I'm going to go back in now, and actually I'm going to work on the stems. But the burnt sienna is great. I'm going to show you later. I'm going to be using it for a shadowing effect around all the flowers and around the edge of the canvas itself. So I've got a really small brush here and I'm trying to work on the lines, and I probably could have done them if I had watered it down a little bit more, but instead I decided to go with the palette knife and just do the lines with the palette knife. Now typically poppies have really kind of swirly, loose stems. They're typically not really straight, but I was going to have a hard time making the stems the way that the way they are in nature. So I thought, well, I've done stems with the palette knife before, and I'm more comfortable with that process. So that's what I went with. However, if you've got a small brush, water down your paint really well, you can do kind of more of a loose, swirly effect for the stems. So it's raw umber that I'm going to be adding there. And so going next, or right along the green, I'm adding a little bit of a darker line as well, kind of giving it a little bit more of a shadowing effect. Even from here now you can see the stems a lot better. I'm going back in, filling in just a little bit. All right, so how about close up? Too close. Back it up, back it up. There we go. I do a better job towards the end of this video showing you close-ups. All right, so what I'm holding here is a marker, which you can't really see. It's a Pip pen, and what I'm going to do, and unfortunately this video ends up cutting off as I get started on this process, so I apologize for that. I had gone on and finished this up with the Pip pen, and it is not recorded. So I'm taking the Pip pen, I am putting it on, I'm wiping it off. I'm doing a little bit at a time, so I'll do a line like that and then I'll rub it in. I'll do another line, rub that in. So don't do all the flowers and then go back and try to rub it in, because it's going to dry. The Pip pen is an India ink and it will dry, so once it's dry it won't move around. So again, I apologize. I realized like 20 minutes later that the recording wasn't happening. So I came back and I'm here. I'm going to kind of quickly show you again what I was doing. So I was going around and I was blending that in. Going around, blending it in. Actually, I'll do this on a couple of them because I decided to add a little bit more of the black. So I did that for all of these, just around the edges, a little bit on the center, because I was trying to make some of these folded up. And then I had taken burnt sienna, which is this more student grade paint that I have. I need to buy one in the better paint. And I'm showing you here what I did around the edge of each of the stems and around each of the flowers. I was taking this watered down paint, and I was putting it around there and then rubbing it in with my fingers to kind of give it that shadowy effect. So I went through and I had done that for the entire canvas, going all the way around. Here I think I'm just adding a tiny bit more, because there's always more to add, right? All right, so that's what I had done. See, I'm doing a better job of showing you guys close-ups. I've learned. All right, so here you can see all of that shadowy effect that was created by using that burnt umber watered down. Here's a few close-ups. And you can see all those little dots in the background too. Kind of makes it look like there's some flowers, tiny flowers in the background. You can see the texture on the poppies as well. All right, so back again one more time, and this time we're going to, let's see, clean up a little bit. Actually, I've got burnt umber down there again, and I'm really watering it down, and I decided I want to edge out the entire canvas, and just adding a layer of texture, a layer of color. You know me, I love to add more layers. It just gives it so much more depth and interest. So I'm going through and I'm doing this. I've really got the video speeded up this time because this is pretty straightforward. Just putting it on with my fingers and rubbing it in. I really like the way it looks, especially in the sky, where you can see the contrast in colors. Adding a little bit more to the corners. And then I also did the other edge, the edge that's towards the very back. I went through and added more color there. Even though that's the side that's up against the wall and not as noticeable, but I think if you're looking at the side of it, it would be noticeable. Cleaning up a little extra there. All right, so that, well, almost done. How about a little bit more at the bottom? And again, just using my fingers. Adding a little bit more of a shadowy effect down there. And a little bit more around the edges. Okay, a little more around the flowers too. See, once I get started, I can't stop. All right, there we go. And I'm going to come around and show you one last time some close-ups. I like the way that burnt sienna really frames the entire picture. You can really see the texture even up in the sky. From my previous original start to this, I had some papers that I had to put down collaged. All right, so here's some close-ups, or this one is a complete photo, and then here's a close-up. And a close-up of the edging. And one more somewhat close-up. All right. Well, thank you so much for watching. If you liked what you saw today, please subscribe to my channel and you'll see more videos coming up soon. Thanks and have a